What's up, friends and family? We have the Augment Guide for patch 13.15. This guide is going to cover all the early game augments you need to be paying attention to. So we'll be ranking stuff from like S all the way to F tier, and there are some augments that can't be taken on stage 2, so you'll see that with like this NA here. Doesn't stand for North America, it stands for not available. And that's just their ranking in like the grand scheme of the game. But everything else is going to be focused on stage 2, which is going to be the early game. So first one we're going to cover is going to be inconsistency. And inconsistency is just a good way to get a decent amount of gold that's pretty much guaranteed. The next one up we have is medium end shopping. This one's removed for now, but if they ever bring it back in like the next patch or something like that, should still be pretty good. It depends how they change it actually. But they removed it temporarily. We don't know if they're gonna like hotfix bring it back or something like that, but we'll have to keep an eye out there. Blood money, very good. You just lose streak with this. And yeah, if you have a board that has like no upgrades or like you get very bad items off the start of the game, bad as in not that the components are bad, but that you can't like build any good items that are good in the early game, then blood money becomes extremely good. Onto the A tier, we have Unified Resistance. This is just a solid combat augment. Misconnections, this one you get later on, but it's pretty good in some situations. I believe this is only available on stage 3. Young, Wild, and Free, this one's pretty good. It's incredible if you take it on stage 3 and you're high health, but this is a stage 2 focus guide, which is the first augment, and Young, Wild, and Free is still pretty good in those scenarios because you get the extra component, and if you have like pretty flexible components, you just build 2 items right away, you get a huge power spike, you win streak, and then you get first pick on carousel anyways. That's when this is going to be extremely good. So if you have the ability to win streak, going to be great there. Cybernetic Bulk, just like all around pretty like solid, nothing good or bad about it. Small Forge, that one's for later on. Silver Spoon, this one's really good if you just want like a lot of gold and want to kind of like play extra units. So if you have like that extra synergy to put in, Silver Spoon's gonna be really good. But overall, this is like a very solid augment, one of my favorites. Healing Orbs, only good if you have like no healing items or if you have like a lot of 2-stars. So if you like kill a lot of units in the early game, this is going to be good. If not, there are probably better things to take. Risky Moves, this one is risky as the name implies, but I think this is one of the best augments. This is probably one of my favorite silver augments because you just try to win streak and then you spend all your gold in stage 2 and stage 3 trying to like level up really quickly, sometimes even rolling. And what ends up happening is that when you do get your risky move payout later on, you just get all your gold back, and it's just really good. Just do not lose streak with this. Some people think it's a lose streak augment because they're like, oh, I'll get even more gold later. You'll be at like 15 health, so don't do that. Definitely try to preserve your life total. Caretaker's Ally, this one's really risky because it forces you into 2-cost reroll, but sometimes you could use it for a free 2-star and then you just level up and kind of play it. It really depends on what you get. If you like playing the lotto, do Caretaker's Ally. AFK, just a classic lose streak augment. Buried Treasures, delayed win streaking. Pandora's Items, this one's alright. If you want like to force a certain build, it's good, or if your items are complete garbage, it's good. Consistency, you just like complete lose streak. Pumping Up, decent. Tiny Titans, decent. Most of these in the B tier, they're all just like pretty decent. Unburdened, this one's really good if you're going for like 4 gunners or like 4 Deadeye, things like that, because it gives you a lot of attack speed to the rest of your team. Red buff, decent for win streaking if you don't have a belt. That way you don't have like overbuilt anti-heal from like a Sunfire and red buff, for example. Social distancing, pretty general standard combat augment. Latent Forge, great for lose streaking, but the item does come pretty late, but once you get there, if you can survive, it's like really good. It's very similar to Risky Moves. Risky Moves is just better than Latent Forge, but they're both like pretty viable and you kind of play them the same way. All these are not available. 1, 2, 3s, it's all right. I don't really like it that much, but you can do it. It's like, that's why the B tier is kind of like a sure. Some of these are a little higher, some of these are a little lower. Jeweled Lotus, this is good if you're focused on a 1 carry comp for later on, but it's not really going to help you that much in the early game unless you have like this completely jacked 2-star unit in the back line. Invoker Heart, you have to force invokers to go for this, so if you have great items for that, go ahead. Cybernetic Leech, if you have no buildable items, take it. Bastion Heart, if you have a lot of Bastions, go for it. Or if you just want to win streak with it, it's fine if it gives you a 2-star from the unit. Bruiser, same thing. Challenger, same thing. If you could run like 4 of the trait at the start, or if you have like a lot of the units, that's the only time they're good. Gunner Heart, Sword Card, same thing. Pretty much for all the hearts, it's like general rule of thumb is just like, If you have the units, go for it. If not, it's going to be not that great. But if you do have the units, they're probably A tier. Harm Assist, just like generic combat augment, and then the rest you kind of don't want to take. Not that it's impossible. Like, for example, one game I had recently, it was Component Buffet, but we were playing on Scuttle Puddle where you get a lot of components. So on certain maps where you get a lot of components, then yeah, Component Buffet is going to be better. But this tier list is based on like generalities, so it's not going to have all those like little nuances in the overall ranking. It's going to be like their average estimated payoff, so to speak. But yeah, I had a great Component Buffet game on Scuttle Puddle because we got so many components, and then I was able to handpick every single items. So yeah, sometimes it's good, but most of the time it's pretty bad. C tier is kind of the ones where I re-roll to try to get better ones. And yeah, but that doesn't mean never take them. It just means they're situational. Like Spoils of War is another great example. If you have a fully upgraded 2-star board, Spoils of War is going to be incredible. But in every other situation, not going to be good. So kind of just like use your knowledge in the game to try to figure out like when to listen to the tier list and when not to, because that'll ultimately make you a much better player. Now onto the gold augments. Gold's pretty balanced. There's like so many things to take here. Cut Above, very good because you just get an item. All the ones that give an item are generally good, especially on stage 2. Stage 3 and stage 4, they get a little bit worse, but on stage 2, pretty much all the item ones are incredible because you don't have many items, so you go from like 1.5 items all the way to 2.5. It's like a 40% boost in your power, so it's like very, very powerful in that sense. But a Cut Above, very good. I only like doing it if I have an upgraded backliner. That way you could actually get the payoff from a Cut Above, which gives 1 gold or like a chance for 1 gold every time you kill a unit with that guy. But yeah, Akshan of Philios or Zeri, just force that comp from a Cut Above. But if sometimes those games you get a random Akshan in stage 2, that's when you do a Cut Above. That's going to be incredible. Or if you have a Jhin 2, a Tristana 2, any of those are going to do fine. All that shimmers, extremely good. Tons of econ in the early game. This is both an item and econ, so this one is just incredible. Sentinel Spirit, good early game. So Ionia is not a great comp right now. It's like mediocre. It's not fantastic. It's not bad. But if you get Sentinel Spirit on stage 2, you just pretty much guarantee win streak with this. Very powerful stuff. Stable Evolution only take if you have like a couple of Void units, but it's really good in those cases. Overcharged Mana Front. If you have any bit of a Sork start, definitely go for this. Ravenous Hunter, yeah, Warwick's still good, but do make sure you have the items for him. The most mandatory item is, I think, Quicksilver, and then after that you do like Rageblade, Bloodthirster. Those are going to be good on him. Piltover Heart, good if you can get 3 Piltover right away. If not, don't take it, but make sure you actually can lose streak with Piltover. Piltover is only good if you lose streak, so do whatever's in your power to make sure you lose those rounds. That includes not upgrading units and purposely playing weaker board while still keeping Piltover in your team. Petrocyte's Shackles, only good with like a Demacia start. Apart from that, not really that worth it. Magic Wand, a lot of these augments that give 1 component, my general rule of thumb is if it can complete an item, I take them. If not, I don't. Zon Crest, 6 Zon is very strong right now, so you could go for this and kind of force it. Shrima's Legacy, completely broken. The augment is broken, but the comp, Shurima, not that good right now. So even though this augment is so incredibly powerful, it's debatable S tier. This specific patch, it's not S tier only because Shurima suck right now. Star is Born, if you have good items but no upgrades, take this. Tons of stats, just a general good, well-rounded combat augment. Gifts from the Fallen, same thing. Morning Light, this is good in the Tristana and Kayle comps because you run Bastions there. We're going to skip these because these show up later on. Total Domination. I mean, yeah, the name of the game right now is Noxus, so if you do get this and you have any bit of a Noxus start or any bit of Noxus items, definitely just take this and force it. Void Crest, same thing there. Glacial Breeze. If you have good AD items to fit with your Freljords, take this. So if I go either like a Zeri build or an Aphelios build, I would take this if I'm hard forcing it. Stellacorn's Blessing. If it gets you a Soraka 2, it's pretty decent. Tactical Superiority. This one depends a lot, but you have to run one of those like 3 trait units as your carry. Doesn't happen all the time, but if you do get that going, then this is going to be good. You just have to force those comps. It's a little limiting, so do proceed with caution on this one. Idealism, if you ever have a Hodge, this is incredibly good because then you just get 2 Hodges and they get the 13% damage buff, so you just put 1 on like different carries and it's incredibly good. And any item augment in the start of the game is already very powerful. 2 healthy. If you're fielding a lot of 2 costs, you could take it to kind of win streak with and then do some sort of 2 cost comp. Unified resistance, generally good. You have my bow, again, same rule as magic wand. I only take this if I can actually use the bow item. Combat caster, extremely good right now. If you have anyone that like has low mana, this is going to be great. Long distance pals, if you run like a 2 unit carry comp, such as like the Noxus comp, going to be very powerful. Targan Heart, Tarek's generally good, but the effect itself or the Targan trait, it's like all right. It's not good or bad, but like you mainly take it for the unit. Shadow Owl Crest, yep. Shadow Owls are very strong in the beginning, especially since you can get to 4 Shadow Owl like pretty easily in stage 3, so it's a great setup for that. And the crest itself is so good because you could put it on any of your 2-star units. It doesn't matter what trait they have, and they just get this giant shield from the Shadow Owl trait. The rest of these still pretty good. Portable Forge, classic flex augments. A lot of people are still taking it. Contagion. Honestly, if I'm playing like super serious right now, I would take Ornn and probably take this in most of my games. Contagion, pretty good for later on. Patient Study, if you want a fast age, sure. Know Your Enemy, General Combat Augments. All the General Combat Augments are all like pretty balanced. Like, is there really that much of a difference between like Martyr and let's say even some of the like A tiers versus like tons of stats? There is a difference. I'm not saying there's not. One, I think, is better than the other. But even though one's A and one's B, they fill the same role. They just make your team stronger. You could just kind of think of it that way. But they all have like little situations where they're slightly better. And so if you have like a multiple tank comp, Martyr's pretty good because then when one of your tank dies, all the other ones get healed up. Whereas if you have like a 2 tank comp, one of them ends up taking a lot of damage and then you only heal your one other tank, not that great of value. So if you have like a lot of melee units, then Martyr's pretty good. Pandora's items, good if you're forcing a comp, but this one, I don't really like the gold Pandora's. Silver's a little bit better. Unburdened, if you're only stacking 1 or 2 units and you're going like vertical AD comps, that's the only time I would take this. Endurance training, great if you're like re-rolling a comp early and you're committing early and you already have that unit. If not, I'd rather pass. For example, recently on my YouTube channel, I'll link a game above. Actually, I think this one's coming out in like 1 or 2 days. I played a Rek'Sai game where I started the game with 4 Bruiser and I had endurance training. Like, yeah, this is going to be S++ tier in those situations. But in other cases, it might not be that worth it. Escort quest, good if you already have a strong board. Same with healing orbs. Ionia crest, decent. Loving invocation, decent if you want to just force invoker. So if you have good items for both of these comps, just go ahead and go for them. All these other ones are available in stage 3. Noxus crest, like if you have a lot of upgrades, take it. If not, don't. You have my sword, again, same rule as the other item ones. Only take if you could complete an item with it. Dueling gunners, defensive dash, all these are like the general trait ones. They're okay. You just need a bunch of units for that trait to really make it that worth it. So just follow the rules there. Winds of War, if it gives you a Galio 2, you can take it. I don't really like this one that much compared to like the Warwick one where like your game plan is like super clear. Some of the other hero augments aren't as good in my opinion. Three's Company, good if you're forcing 3-cost reroll. It's also like a makeshift rich get richer, but it's but if you don't get a good 3-cost, then it's kind of bad. Bulk, social distancing, good combat augments, pump up, all natural. All these are generally pretty good. The ones to avoid, I should actually like probably skip the C tier and go all the way to the F tier because the C tiers are still situational. There's still times where you could take them. But the ones you don't take right now is like Frequent Flyer, never take this. Multicaster Heart, never take this. Rogue Crest, no. Slayer's Resolve, no. And Return on Investment, no. Slayers are really weird because I think the trait itself is pretty good, but all their augments are so bad. But the times they do work, they're really good. I think that's all there is for the gold tier. Like the rest of the C tiers, it's like, yeah, they're like a little bit worse than the B tiers, but there's so many to choose from. Gold's pretty balanced that there's going to be something you could kind of take, and they all have their little situations. And of course, if you do want to read through the entire guide, head on over to the website bunnymuffins.lol/augments. So we'll leave a link in the description and like the pinned comment below. Now let's move on into the prismatic augments. So most of these are pretty decent, but you just really want to make sure like getting a B or C tier on stage 2 is gonna like really ruin your day. Even the F tiers obviously too. So re-roll these, try to get the A or the S tiers because it's very, very important and it makes like a huge difference in your game. The game isn't over if you get like one of the B tiers, but you need like very specific spots for them as per usual because like obviously every augment has its place, right? Actually, no. Some of the F tiers, let's do the F tiers first. Multicaster Soul, nope. Multicaster Suck. Hedge Fund, like, yeah, you could open Fort with it. I wouldn't, but yeah, there's just a lot better things to take. Let's go back up into the top. So in the S tier, the only one at stage 2 that's like super, super good is like Void Crown. I would pretty much always take this because Void is so strong in the early game because you get the little Rift Herald thing. I don't know if you noticed, but like most of like the highest win rates in stage 2 is going to be from the Void trait, and you just get it for free pretty much. So if you have any bit of like, or any semblance of Void units, I would pretty much always take it. Endless Horde, this one is going to be available later on, but I think it's pretty good. Obviously only pick it during a portal that doesn't give like a lot of items, because then it's useless in those, but in the ones that aren't, it's like extremely powerful. Onto the A tier, we have Shadow Owl Crown. So take this if you have 2 or more units of Shadow Owls. It's going to be very good because you get a Callista, and Callista can just rip through a lot of people in the early game. It did get nerfed, but it's still pretty good. Piltover Soul, same thing with the other Piltover stuff. You get 3 Piltover right away, and it's just like, yeah, you're going to be gaining a lot of stacks. Just make sure you actually lose streak, because it's F tier if you don't. Zon Crown, 6 Zon is broken, so yeah, you take that. Cybernetic Bulk, pretty good. Final Ascension, this one's for later on. Freaky Friday Plus, this one's for later on. Transfusion 3, good if you want to lose streak. It's going to be incredible once you hit like stage 4, for example. But obviously, if you have a lot of upgrades, probably don't take this. Bastion Crown, this gives you a Taric, so it's pretty good. Freaky Friday, I like this one a lot. You just get like 2 Ornn items from a Prismatic, like hello, that's very good. And they pretty much fit in almost every comp. Cruel Pact, if you have like 1 2-star already, I automatically take Cruel Pact. I take Cruel Pact in a lot of situations, let's be honest. But probably one of the coolest augments, honestly. But I think it's best if you already have a 2-star before you take this. Masterful Job, that's later on. Large Forge, later on. Noxus Crown, this is you're gonna want to win streak with it, but it's very powerful if you're just forcing Noxus, which I am right now, so keep that in mind. March of Progress, only take this if you're gonna reroll. Roll the Dice, good for win streaking. Tiniest Titan, good for lose streaking. This is probably like one of the best lose streak augments. So yeah, if you have no upgrades and you want to get like a huge, maybe like level 7 roll down, definitely take Tiniest Titan. Challenger Crown, take this if you have 3 or more Challenger units. Sword Crown, same thing. Sword Crown maybe should be ranked a little higher up. We might update this later on in the week. Starter Kit, very good if you want to just like tempoing. So pretty much you just take this if you want to fast 7 and roll down and get like everything upgraded and dominate stage 4. Caretaker's Chosen, this one's okay. Not the best, not the worst. Targon Soul, good because of Taric. Invoker Crown, if you're forcing Invokers and you have good items for them, sure. Radiant Relics, this is like a classic item augment, but you need to make sure you know which Radiant items are OP. So just check any data site, sort by like best Radiant items, and just generally try to pick those. Tactician's Tools, this gives you a free Fawn, level up, great for fast aiding. Shopping Spree, great for fast aid as well. Golden Ticket, if you want to reroll, it's really, really powerful. It works with any reroll, but I think like the sweet spot's 2 cost, but you could use it for like 1 or 3 costs. 3 costs is a little iffy because you have to wait a while before you get it, or before you like really benefit from it, but you could still do it if you're like forcing a 3 cost reroll comp. Rogue Crown, it's decent, but contrary to the other Rogue augments, which are pretty bad, Rogue Crown's not bad because like the emblem is pretty good. It gives a lot of slipperiness to some of your units, and you get a Hand of Justice. It's like very, very nice. So you get like a good item, good flexible item, and you get pretty much like a second item. It's like an Edge of Night if you really think about it. All this other stuff you can't get till later. What the Forge is really fun though, just like as an honorable mention. Bruiser Crown, only take if you're doing Rek'Sai reroll. Social Distancing, if you want to win streak, sure. Freljord Soul, pretty good. All the crowns, same rules as before. Only take it if you have like units for the comp, obviously. I don't even know why I even have to say this. I would hope that's like common sense or something. Pumping Up, if you're forcing a AD or AS comp, it's really good. So this is great for either like Zeri, Aphelios, Azir, Kai'Sa, units like that that really make use of attack speed. You could pretty much take this and you don't have to build an attack speed item for them. You could just build either AD or AP depending on what they scale with, and then you're going to be set from there. Battle Ready, an Overwhelming Force, and Seeing Double, these are all for later on. Pandora's Box, we're on to the C tiers now. I used to think this was incredibly good, but as time went on, it's just really risky. Some of the Radiant items, they're just not going to fit your team, so you're just going to have that sit on the side of your board until you finally get something. And by that time, sometimes you're already committed to something else, and then you have to wait even longer. But if you want to play the lottery, like, yeah, Pandora's going to be good. Ancient Archives, make sure to just tailor the tomes. Don't just pop these randomly. The next ones, we have Binary Airdrop. Only take if you have a legend that gives you a lot of items. That way you could get like 3 items on a ton of different people. So if you play like Ornn or something, or you play Ezreal, probably Ezreal is going to be the best one for this. Binary Airdrop is going to be incredible because you take Binary Airdrop, well, not incredible, but it's going to be playable. But you take it at stage 2. Then later on in stage 3, you get more components. Stage 4, you get more components as well. And let's say you're on maybe Shurima Bazaar, which gives even more components. Well, you're going to have a ton of items in that game, so then Binary Airdrop's going to get more and more value. Buried Treasures, Delayed Win Streaking, Birthday Present, take for like Fast 9 Flex, pretty decent. Jeweled Lotus 3, decent for mid-game, but not good in the early game. Harm Assist, same thing. Souls and Crowns, same story as before. Double Trouble, if you want to force Talia, go for it. So if you have good items for her, I would do it. I would say the comp got nerfed quite a bit, but it's still playable, just not as strong as it was in previous patches. Lucky Gloves, if you already have a Thieves Glove or like another glove component, could be pretty good. Spoils of War only take if you have an extremely strong board. Wandering Trainer, if you're a Flex God, or if you just want to hit the lottery, take this, because there's some weird stuff that happens there. I don't know what it is, but the first like 5 times I took this or whatever, I got great synergy. So I was like, in my head, I was like, wow, this is so good. But the last 2 times I've taken it, I've gotten 3 traits with no synergies, and I'm just like, what the hell? So it's pretty difficult to use and like very weird for sure. Living Forge, this one's kind of like average, I'd say. It's nothing great, nothing like too bad, but there's definitely better. Curse Crown, if you have like tons of 2-stars, sure. Cybernetic Leech, if you have no buildable items, take that. And then the rest we already covered. Actually, I need to move Build Different up. It's actually good now. You're not gonna like win games with it or whatever, but getting like thirds, it's like very good for that. So yeah, that's gonna be it for augments today. Again, this is mainly just for stage 2, but some of them we like put as not available and then like tier them anyways, just so you could reference it later. But this is all gonna be on the website, bunnymuffins.lol/augments, and I hope to see you all in my next videos, because some of them, they're gonna be using some of the weird augments, so you definitely want to be able to check those out. So I hope to see you all there. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.